Hello. Cool, thank you very much. Oh, sorry, I've got to stay in the same place because there's a photographer here and apparently I need some photographs. So every now and again, if you just see me don't worry, it's part of the talk. Yeah, cheers, thank you very much. Thanks very much to Stefan and Emily for setting my talk up, which is here. There's a lot of stuff that I'll cover that was in their talk as well, so that's really good. Just a few things to clear up. Emily, I don't work for Sky anymore. I now work for ThoughtWorks, as Josh said. So thank you. Thanks for the name there. But I do love everyone at Sky, so thank you. The second thing is, as much as Josh makes it sound really cool to be like a consultant and flying in from the far reaches of Ireland, it's actually not, because it just makes you really tired and unhealthy and fat. So if that's the kind of lifestyle you want, come and talk to me. I'll probably be able to get you a Ryanair or Domino's VIP pass, so just let us know. Oh, breaking stuff. So this is the camera thing. Got to stand. Cool. Okay, so I'm going to talk about designing your own career. Like I say, it follows on really nicely from what Stefan and Emily spoke about. Oh, how did I get there? That's the wrong way. Where am I going? I have had a couple of beers before this as well, by the way, so apologies. This question often occurs. It occurs in me, even now after doing this for something like 11 years. It occurs with junior designers. It occurs with people new to the industry. Quite often people don't actually know where they're going. And part of that, as you've already seen, is how do I actually get there? How do I achieve the things that I want to achieve? This talk is aimed mostly at designers, but anyone in this digital industry, developers can learn something from this as well. Often what I hear is, Chris, how to become a senior designer? How to become a middleweight designer? How to become a designer, etc., etc. And a lot of people just don't know actually. Generally, they don't know what design is, but they don't know where they want to go with design, what's actually out there, and how to achieve a great career in design. That's not to say that my career is any good, but I've had 11 years of figuring out what isn't good, so hopefully some of these tips and tricks will help. So what you'll find is that design is iterative. And designers know this, they try things, they work upon it, they continue to build, things won't work, things will work, they'll try different things out. And careers are the same. You're not going to walk out of university, you're not going to go straight into, well actually maybe, I don't know, Stefan walked straight into an apprenticeship with Sky, so maybe I'm wrong, but you're not going to walk straight out of university into the best job you've ever had. You're always going to occur problems that you have to overcome. You're always going to have to learn things and have failure and decide what is right for you. In agile development and agile design and general product, product development, we have this methodology called agile and lean UX as well, which is all about building, measuring, and learning. We build something small maybe. We try it out in the real world, we see what happens, we measure the difference in user behavior, and we learn from that and we continue. You can do this with your life, you can do this with your career as well. Try things out, see how they fit for you. Measure the difference. Are you happier? Are you sad? Are your skills increasing? Are you getting better at your job? And learn from them and continue that iterative approach. The downside to agile development and lean UX, I'm not going to go into those two things, by the way, so if you don't know what they are, there's Google for that. It's really important to have a vision. And this is one of the things that is lacking in both those methodologies, is that often people forget what the vision is. There is no vision because you're constantly building and measuring and learning, and you're constantly going in a certain direction, then off into another. It's important for both design and products and your career to have a vision. What is it you want at the end of this process, whether it be a design process or a career life-changing process? And it's important to have a strategy. Just checking the next one. It's important to have a strategy. You need to know how to actually achieve that vision. And a vision is really great to have because it aligns you and guides you through the process of design or careers. But you need to know the tasks that you have to take to get there. And having a strategy is really important. Strategy is confusing. It's difficult. But it boils down to basically where to play and how to win. It's a really simple concept of where do I need to be to achieve what I want, and what do I need to achieve that? What capabilities do I need to play in this space and really succeed? There's a really good book here, which is huge, obviously. Playing to Win, How Strategy Really Works by these guys. There's a link there for you to go and read about. It's all about business strategy. Yawn. So business strategy is really important. Really important. It's how all the businesses you work in strive upon either a good, or they fail on a bad business strategy. To be a really great designer, you need to understand business strategy. I'll go into that a little bit later. Have a read of this book, take it on board, understand how it will affect you as a designer and as a person. But it's also really important to understand where you are now. And this graph that I didn't draw is really good at explaining the steps it takes to achieve expert status as whatever it is you want to achieve expert status in. So the yellow line, how much I think I know. The blue line, how much I actually know. Can you see the difference in colors, yeah? Like between green and blue. Don't know, it might be difficult for some. Accessibility fail. And the green line, how much I realize there is to know. So just to go into some detail about this, at the bottom you have the stages of, progression, I suppose, expertise, and up the vertically you have knowledge. So as a beginner, you don't know much, you don't think you know much, and you don't realize how much there is to know. It's quite an exciting time because it's quite new. And as Stefan was alluding to earlier, it's a great place to find your feet, to explore and try things. Unfortunately, in the sort of, hazard's quite a strong word, but as you go up there, how much I think I know, you get to a point where you think you know shit tons of things, and actually, you don't know shit. And it is a little bit of a hazard. People get a little bit carried away in this sort of stage, but it's also exciting, right? The little, this bit is a really great place to take risks and innovate and enjoy yourself. You don't know what actually is going to happen, so just have a good time. Whereas at the top, you start going, oh crap, I thought I was really good at this, and I am terrible. This is terrible. I am shit. And as you come down the curve, welcome to imposter syndrome. This is the bit where you go, oh my God, I really don't think I know anything at all. And there's so much to learn and so much. Everybody else seems to know everything. And there's a crossing point where you go, oh, there is a lot to know. But it's okay because I'm starting to realize that. And I'm actually starting to know stuff myself and starting to learn. And eventually you get into expert phase where you actually know some stuff and you realize how much other stuff there is to know. There is so much other stuff to know about everything, all the time. Front-end development, as you said, there's all this stuff you need to know. Design is no different. There's a lot to learn all the time. But I think it's good and I think it's important that you realize where you are on this stage and emphasize the area that you're in and really play to the strengths of that area. If you're coming up the scale of how much I think I know, then innovate and enjoy it. If you're coming down into imposter syndrome, just realize that everyone else is doing the same. It's okay. You will get to this expert stage. So I think there's three key broad themes to progress your design career. The how, the what, and the why. So how do we build digital products? What are we actually supposed to be building? And why on earth are we building these things? These are three key stages, and I want to make it kind of clear that these are not junior, middleweight, senior design roles. That's just bullshit. They're just job titles. Just learn how to be a good designer and progress through. So if we take the how, this is the first stage, so the circle is relatively small. How do we build digital products? Now, there's a lot of designers that maybe came through university or jumped straight into digital design and UX design that forget that there's a whole history behind design. Graphic design, understanding visual hierarchy, understanding typography. These are all really important. And UX designers often think that they don't need to know a lot of this stuff, that the UI designer will do this stuff for them. But it's really important that you understand the history of design. Understand how to employ typography, understand how to use visual hierarchy to move the customer through your digital product. Much like in the 1900s where graphic designers were using posters to move their customers through the different details of what that poster is trying to sell. It's no different. We're doing the exact same stuff now, just the medium we use is slightly different. You'll also start to learn the really boring stuff. Apologies, any marketeers in the room. Search engine optimization, PPC, and Crow, as I'll call it. Like I only say they're boring because I find them really boring. But you will start to learn about these things. You'll start to understand how they impact your digital products, whether they be app or website. And it's important to understand these things and how they work, how we get customers to use our products. You'll also understand how to start prototyping, understand accessibility and what that impacts certain users, and potentially learn how to code. Ooh. I'm not going to go into that because everyone will just disagree or agree violently with each other. Should designers code? At this stage, you will start to understand what usability is. How do customers use products? This isn't really UX design at this point. It's just understanding usability. How can I make a customer's journey through a particular interface nice and smooth and easy to complete? Doing usability testing is very different to doing user research, which I'll go into at a later stage. And there's no such thing as user testing. We don't test users, we test products, which is another debate for another time. Just don't use it. But doing usability testing and quality assurance testing is really important. Be involved in regression testing if you're working on apps. It's boring and it's really difficult when you open like some crappy old Samsung tiny phone from like 2009 and nothing works on it. But it's good to understand what doesn't work and why it doesn't work and how your design impacts certain users using those devices. You will learn a lot about software. If you do take the advice and start to learn about graphic design, you'll learn software programs like InDesign and, God forbid, going back 10 years, freehand MX, I think it was called, Macromedia crap. But you will learn how to use software, whether it be prototyping tool or design tool or even code. You'll also start to understand how your position in the process fits in. So employing lean UX in an agile development squad, you'll start to learn how that works. So maybe don't get ahead of yourself, just figure out how you fit into that. And you will probably disagree where you fit in at certain stages. But it's important just to be there and to learn a lot. How does the internet work? This is like a really key thing. When I started in, I don't know, let's call it digital design, I didn't know how any of this stuff worked. I just used it. And that was only like 4 years ago, by the way, so I am pretty new to this, but I didn't know how the internet worked. I didn't know the process of building a 5 years ago. I didn't understand the process of building a website. Never mind an app, I just didn't know. And getting stuck in, I started off as a very bad front-end developer, but I did understand all the stuff I've just spoken about. I understood how the internet started to work, and when you start to understand that, you can design it better for the customers. So that was the how. We'll move on to the what. What are we supposed to be building? When we start to think about what we should be building, we'll start employing buzzwords like design thinking. It's actually very useful, and Emily picked up on this earlier. Divergent thinking, convergent thinking, working individually, working as a group to understand customer problems and the solutions that we might design and build to solve those problems. Again, I'm not going to talk too much about this, but go and Google it because it can be very powerful. We'll also start to think about psychology, ethnography, and analytics. So These are all different versions of understanding the customer. What is the customer thinking? What is a large group of culture thinking? So as Josh mentioned, I work in Ireland. You would think that is very similar to England. It isn't. There's a lot of cultural differences, especially in the financial sector where I work. Their financial crash was much worse than ours. They're kind of scared of credit. They're kind of wary of financial institutions, banks, etc. So understanding large cultural differences is really important, especially if you want to work for the kind of clients and companies that are global. Understanding analytics, again, I find this particularly boring. If there's other people that are really great at it, then I will use their skill and their interest to tell me about the customer. So again, at this stage, you'll start using user-centered design. You'll maybe even have a user-centered design process. You'll start understanding human-computer interaction. If you did want to go and study something at university to make yourself a better UX designer, I would suggest going to do that. I wish I did. Maybe I will. And the third acronym is just because I couldn't think of a third one. You'll also start to develop a brain that will allow you to think critically, objectively, looking into a situation to form an opinion objectively based on fact rather than subjectively based on opinion. You start hearing things from stakeholders and clients such along the lines of, I don't really like this, or I'm not sure, not too sure about this one. Really like that, that's great. That's subjective thinking. Ask them to stop, ask them to think objectively. Provide them with the research and the data to back that up so they can think objectively. There's a lot of discussion in the news at the moment about critical thinking with the whole fake news, i.e. lies, across the internet, and that no one's really doing critical thinking. They read things on social media and they just go, well, that must be true because I'm reading it online. Instead of sitting back and going, hang on a minute, where's this source? Where's this come from? How should I critique this? And the same thing happens with design. Lateral thinking, there's a great book by Edward de Bono. I will link it maybe when I share these. It's quite an old book, but it's really fantastic. It is called something like lateral thinking. And it allows you to think creatively about solutions, taking in from different angles, maybe not just the standard way of thinking about things. And all this builds to what should we build for customers. So we move on to why, and you can see the circle slightly bigger now. So when we get to why we should build products, we start thinking more about goals and objectives and vision for said product. What is the vision of the product? What objective do we have to achieve the vision? And it should be a customer-based vision. And what goals do we need to achieve the objectives, to achieve the vision? At that stage, you're starting to think about product strategy. UX strategy is another thing I have an opinion on. That doesn't exist. We can talk about it later if you want. But so product strategy. What is this product supposed to do? How is it solving customer problems? Where in the market does this product play, and how does it try and win? What capabilities do we need to try and make it win? And as you grow as a designer and you've understood how to build and what to build, you start thinking of, why are we even building this? Where does it sit in the marketplace? And then you start thinking about business strategy, because the business may have multiple products. If it doesn't, and it only has one product, there will still be a business strategy. Where does the business see itself sitting in the market? What capabilities does it need to achieve its win? One of those capabilities may be you and the product you work on. So it's really important to think about business strategy. That's one of the, I think, the key things that designers can take away from this and investigate. Understand business strategy, will understand how to build a product. At this later stage as well, you're gaining more and more experience, and you start to think about the management of a team that you might be working in, the strengths and weaknesses of certain designers, maybe where they are on that curve. Oh, damn it, the thing about the curve as well, it's called the Dunning-Kruger effect, which sounds really cool, and I forgot to say it, but you can go click on the link anyway. But at this stage, you start to think about management and team fit, the capabilities and skills that each individual designer has, the personalities that they have, and how they fit in a wider design process. A lot of places that I've worked or come across don't have a design process. They don't actually really know how to design. And at this stage, when you're thinking about why we're building products, you think about how we design them as well. And coaching comes in as well, upskilling your team members, etc. So if we go back and we think about the how, the what, and the why, your experience as a designer grows. Now, this doesn't have to be purely based on time. I know some really senior designers that are here, and that's okay. Like, they're really happy being here. They're really great at quickly prototyping, and they're really great at visual design and wireframes, and that's a really key thing. I also know some junior designers that are thinking on this level. They're thinking about business strategy and product strategy. Product strategy. So it's not really a time-based thing. It's something to think about. At this stage, you are now doing design. This is what it is. How do we build things? What do we build? Why should we build them? That, in its essence, is what a digital product designer is. But that's not really it. Design is a process. And this is something that designers need to understand, and they probably do, but they need to share this with the wider team, especially stakeholders, especially clients. Design is not an output. It's the process of understanding customer problems and understanding maybe what a solution might be. The artifacts that you create along the way, the sketches, the process flows, the wireframes, the visual design, the other bits and pieces that pop out of that process, that is not design work. They're just artifacts that you can use to explain your solution. This is often what a design process looks like, and again, it's something that you could take from Stefan's talk as well. Like, you start off going, this is really great. Like, I feel really good about this. Oh, hang on. Maybe it's a little bit trickier than I thought it was. This is shit. This is terrible. I hate this. I hate myself. I am shit. I should not be doing this. Again, Emily kind of picked up on this. Like, why am I even a designer? Like, oh hang on. It might be okay. I did this with this slide deck as well, to be honest. This might be okay. And then at the end, when you land in Leeds from Dublin, you go, oh, fuck, this is going to be awesome. This is going to be really cool. Everyone's going to really enjoy this. Careers are also a process. Your career may also go through this process. My career has gone through this process on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, getting to this, I am shit, why am I even doing this? I'm not a very good designer, so why should I bother? Your career will do this as well, but it's important to note that this little imposter syndrome section in the middle does end up okay. I think you get free beers for standing on stage and doing stuff, so it's cool. This is not a very good sentence because it should say design. Design is about relationships, but it fits the slides nicer. So design is about relationships. Because design is a process, it's not an individual process. Everybody's involved in this process. And if you've ever worked at Sky in a agile development team, you will realize that everyone starts to get involved with design. And that can be really good because you start being collaborative, you start taking ideas from other people, you start to understand technical implications. Design is about relationships. Designers have to be nice people. You can't be introvert as a designer because you have to go and speak to people. And this XKCD little comic really sort of sums it up. Sometimes I get overwhelmed thinking about the amount of work that went into ordinary objects around me. It's a table, it's a lamp, and it's a glass. 9 hours of meetings for the neck of the lamp. Extra events added to avoid safety recall. Years-long negotiation with glass supplier. Wood source changed due to 20-year legal fight. This is all about people. We can go away and we can design beautiful lamps and little glasses and tables, great. But you still have to live in reality. You still have to deal with all these people in different businesses. So careers are also about relationships. You can't really get by in your career without dealing with people. And as Samuel said, do you know who I am? Do you know what I'm actually capable of? And he's kind of like, he's right. Like he said the top bit first, like, do you know who I am? That's really important. Everybody has skills. Everybody is capable of opening Sketch or Photoshop and doing some design work. Some are better than others, admittedly, but it is a lot about who you are, your personality, the way you deal with people and you speak with people. And again, you might make mistakes with that as you learn and grow. You will learn how to speak to certain people, and you will learn about their personalities and treat them in slightly different ways. To get to know more people, there's a few things that don't really happen in the industry that I've seen. A lot of design pairing doesn't happen. If you're working in an agile team or doing lean UX, you may be going and speaking to the BA and the product owner and the developer, then you'll go back into your little bubble and your open sketch and you start designing things. But developers do this all the time. This is like a thing that ThoughtWorks believe in so strongly that they don't not do it. They always do dev pairing. They always have the, what do they call them, navigator and driver, the one that's doing the work and the one that's watching and helping. I believe Sky maybe do this as well. That wasn't like a diss, by the way. Like, it's a good thing. But designers don't particularly do it. Designers don't sit down with each other and are the other designer to go through things as a designer watches and comments and questions and moves forward with that design. A lot of the problem is that design is very subjective, and even designers are to blame for being subjective about things. This is a really good method, a really good way of meeting people and moving your career along, not just with designers, but maybe developers as well. Collaborative design, so again, going back to design thinking, you should be running what Lean UX calls design studios, which is basically just a load of people of different disciplines diverging and converging on solutions and ideas and collaboratively getting to an outcome. Again, a really great way to meet people, to practice how to speak to people and how to run workshops. The master and the apprentice, this is something that I think about a lot because in our industry, you don't really have this. A lot of the time, and this isn't just designers, it's developers as well, you're just kind of like chucked into a situation and gone, right, I'll tell you the things you need to know when you question me about them or you're struggling. I'll let you know how to do that. I'll try and guide you in some way. There was a TV show on the other day. It was about dance, I have to admit. But it was based in Huddersfield, which is actually where I'm from. And there was a section in talking about the cloth industry, which is a couple of 100-year-old industry in Huddersfield. A lot of Huddersfield is based around that. And they went in, they asked this young lad a question, was like, so what do you do in this mill? And he was like, oh, I'm an apprentice. And they went, oh, brilliant. How long have you been doing that for? 2 years. I was like, oh, okay, interesting. And then they said to him, and how long do you think you'll be doing it for after that? 5 years. 7 years for an apprenticeship to learn the craft of cloth making for clothing. They sell these clothing to like Armani and all these sorts of places. Really high quality stuff. We don't do any of that in this industry because it does move so fast. Things never take 7 years. So imagine what was 7 years ago, 2010, what were we all doing 7 years ago? And this guy's just learning how to do something. And I really think that this would be a great idea in maybe a slightly larger company where you can have experts who do the work as the apprentice, watches and takes part in certain elements. And I think that would really help a lot of junior designers, people at university, to understand what design is. Which kind of moves on to sponsors and mentors. So in ThoughtWorks we have sponsors that you have to choose and you have to go and speak to, and they guide you through the terrible, crazy world of being a consultant. And mentors. This is some stuff that people talk about a lot but never really do. It is time-consuming, it is difficult, but it's really important to go and find a mentor in industry. If you just go and speak to someone that you really admire and say, look, I'm new to this whole thing. Can you maybe guide me in some way? We can just do it by email, we can just do it by Twitter, no problem. They'll probably just be like, wow, I'm really honored. Yeah, of course I'll help you. So just to, I guess just to round this off, it takes a lot of drive to be a designer. You have to really work hard at it. It isn't just opening Sketch and drawing some interfaces and going to a usability testing session and going, this will do. It's really difficult. It's really hard. You have to really get into the minds of the user, the psychology of the users and your customers, understanding business strategy and product strategy, dealing with a lot of people. It's a hard job. It's not easy to do. And I don't really want anyone to think that it is easy because it isn't. So again, you need a lot of passion, and if you really want to succeed, you do have to be ambitious. You have to push the boundaries and really get out there and try lots of different things and see if it works. It takes a lot of empathy, which is like a real buzzword for designers, I suppose, but not just for customers, okay? You need to try and empathize with customers and users if you can. But it takes a lot of empathy for the people that you work around. That's difficult stakeholders sat on the other side of the meeting room. They have an agenda. They need to get stuff done. You need to try and empathize with them to get your agenda through. It takes a lot of trust. You have to trust everyone around you. There should be a basic level of trust. People break that trust, fine. But start at 0. Don't start at negative. Always trust everyone, including yourself, to get the job done. And it takes a lot of honesty as well. And again, that's honesty internally and honesty externally. Admit absolutely everything. If you don't know something, just say you don't know. No one thinks you're silly, stupid. Just ask the question. I do this all the time. And as you grow as whatever discipline you're in and become more, more senior, more of the expert level, you feel really comfortable just going, what is that? What are you even talking about? People talk about stuff all the time. I haven't got a clue what's going on. Honestly, I just have to put you on and go, what are you talking about? And as Jake the dog says, sucking at something is really the first step at being good at something. You have to be kind of shit to get really good. Nobody starts off really, really good. People might start off pretty good. They never really start off amazing. Again, just some sort of tips. Read a lot. Read about everything. Again, I'll admit I haven't read any of the kind of seminal UX books about anything. Don't make me think. Rockets, no, I've not read any of it. I just sort of do stuff. But I read a lot. I read about everything. I read about business strategy. I read about culture and history and lots of different things. Reading helps you learn words, which is quite a basic thought, but stick with me. If you read a lot, you know how to talk a lot, which helps you speak at events, which helps you to learn how to be a designer, because when you do stuff like this, people ask you a shitload of questions that are hard to answer, and you just got to do it. And you do learn a lot from that. You gain a lot of experience from putting yourself almost in the firing line. And write. This is something that I do okay, but don't do enough of. Again, it's all about, if you write about it, you'll be able to talk about it. You'll be able to deal with those difficult relationships with stakeholders and clients. One of my favorite things is just travel, just get out there, just go meet people, do stuff. Be creative in different ways. If you work in digital product design, maybe you want to go try something that's a bit more manual. I guess the cool thing, hipster thing would be to carve spoons out of wood and stuff. But it's a creative thing, so maybe you should go and do it. And explore. Slightly different to travel, because you can explore in Leeds. There's so much stuff to learn. Explore everything. Always ask why. What is this? What's going on? What's happening here? Explore everything. A lot of people always say take risks, and that as you come up to that curve on the Dunning-Kruger effect graph I showed you earlier, as you come up that, it's a great place to be able to innovate and take risks. A lot of people say take risks, but nobody wants you to take risks. That's like a scary thing. No one in business says, go and take a load of risks, I'll back you up. No one does that. What they really mean is speculate and innovate. Form an understanding of something and realize where you can innovate and go ahead and do it. They might give you the freedom to go and innovate. They might give you the freedom to go and fail. And a lot of learning comes from failure. We fail, I think someone mentioned it earlier, I can't remember who, but we learn through failure. If things don't work, we go, well, that didn't work, I'll try something else until something does work. But you need to learn how to fail as well and take it on the chin, take critique well. And as you go through your careers, you really need to understand and realize the impact you're having on a certain company or a certain business and what value you're bringing to the business. Every time I've left a company to move on to something else, it's because I wasn't having any impact anymore. I'd done some stuff, it was okay, but no more impact. I wasn't bringing any value anymore. And vice versa. If the company is not impacting on you as a person in your career and they're not valuing you and giving you value, maybe it's time to think about moving on. And just go back to this. Design as a process, digital product development as a process, is about building something, measuring what happens, and learning from it. And your career is exactly the same thing. You should try something, measure the feelings you have about it. Are you learning stuff? Do you feel good about this? And learn from that, take the next step, and move on. Cheers.